Jung versus Nietzsche. Who understood suffering better? What if the pain you keep trying to escape is actually shaping the person you are meant to become? What if suffering is not punishment, but initiation? And what if two of history's most dangerous minds, Carl Jung and Friedrich Nietzsche, saw something about pain that modern people are terrified to face? Stay with me, because near the end of this video, I'm going to show you the disturbing truth both men discovered about suffering and why one of them believed avoiding pain may be far more destructive than pain itself. And once you hear the final insight, you may never ask again, why is this happening to me? You may ask something much deeper. What is this trying to make of me? And that changes everything. Because Nietzsche and Jung agreed on one shocking idea. Comfort does not awaken people. Crisis does. And that is where this begins. 1. Nietzsche saw suffering as fire. Most people think suffering is interruption. Nietzsche thought it was formation. Huge difference. He didn't romanticize pain. He understood its brutality. But he believed something almost no one wants to hear today. Struggle can deepen you. Sometimes only struggle can. Comfort can make you passive. Pain can force consciousness. That was his point. When Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger," he wasn't offering a motivational slogan. He was describing a brutal spiritual law. Life wounds you and then asks, will this break you or forge you? That's a terrifying question. And honestly, you may have already lived it. Think about the moments that changed you most. Was it ease or heartbreak? Was it comfort or loss? Very often, our deepest insight came through something painful. Nietzsche knew this. He believed suffering can strip illusion, destroy weakness, burn away falsehood. Like fire purifies metal. But stay with me, because Jung would agree. And then say Nietzsche stopped too soon. Because Jung believed suffering does more than strengthen. It reveals, and that may be even more unsettling. 2. Jung's side pain often carries meaning. This is where Jung gets mysterious, because he didn't see suffering as merely something to endure. He saw it as communication, and that is a radical idea. Imagine anxiety not as enemy, but message. Imagine depression not merely as malfunction, but signal. Imagine inner emptiness not as failure, but summons. Jung often saw suffering this way, a call from the unconscious, a pressure forcing transformation. And honestly, that idea changes everything. Because now pain isn't just something happening to you. It may be something speaking through you. And that is terrifying, because it means what you want to escape may be trying to awaken you. Jung once suggested neurosis can be substitute suffering for a life unlived. Think about that. An unlived life can hurt. A betrayed self can hurt. Ignoring who you are can hurt. And suddenly suffering is no longer random. It has symbolic weight. Nietzsche saw fire. Jung saw meaning in the fire. One says pain can forge you. The other says pain may be guiding you. That's deeper. And wait until you hear where Jung thought suffering becomes dangerous. Because here he may challenge Nietzsche directly. 3. Can suffering destroy you? This is where things turn darker, because Nietzsche often sounds heroic, almost volcanic. Rise, overcome, become. But Jung asks a harder question. What if suffering doesn't elevate you? What if it crushes you? Very important, because not all pain transforms. Some pain traumatizes, some wounds fragment the psyche. Jung knew this, and that is why he did not worship suffering. He respected it. Big difference. This matters, because many people hear philosophy about suffering and turn it into self-violence. Maybe I need more pain. No, that is not what Jung meant. He meant pain consciously encountered can transform. Pain unconsciously carried can deform. That distinction changes everything, because suffering can make someone profound, or bitter, awake, or broken. And what determines which one? Consciousness. That is Jung, not suffering alone. but what awareness does with suffering. And honestly, that may be where he goes beyond Nietzsche. Because Nietzsche glorified overcoming, Jung studied what happens when people fail to overcome. That is deeper psychologically, and what he found may be uncomfortable, because he believed what you refuse to suffer consciously, you may suffer unconsciously forever. Let that sink in, and what comes next may be the deepest clash between them, because Nietzsche wanted transcendence. Jung wanted integration, and those are not the same thing. 4. Overcoming versus integration. Nietzsche loved the idea of rising above, self-overcoming, transcendence, become higher, become stronger. There's something intoxicating in that. You can feel its power. But Jung might ask, why must you rise above parts of yourself? Why not integrate them? That is a profound challenge, because overcoming can sometimes mean conquest. And Jung distrusted inner conquest. He believed the psyche resists domination. Try to crush part of yourself. It returns in shadow, stronger, darker. That was his warning. And this is where Jung becomes radical. He says, do not overcome your darkness, know it. That changes everything. Because now the goal isn't heroic superiority, it is wholeness, a completely different vision. Nietzsche often sounds like ascent. Jung sounds like descent. Nietzsche climbs mountains. Jung enters caves, and maybe both are necessary. But if you had to ask who understood suffering psychologically deeper, Jung starts becoming hard to ignore, because he asks not, how do I conquer pain, but what in me is revealed through pain? That is a terrifyingly mature question. And stay with me, because the next part may be the darkest insight in this entire video. It concerns the shadow, and both Jung and Nietzsche stare directly into it, but not in the same way. 5. Nietzsche looked into the abyss. You know the quote, if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss gazes back. People quote it, few understand it. Nietzsche wasn't being poetic, he was warning. There is darkness in reality, and in us. Ignore that, and you remain naive. Face it, and you risk a transformation or madness. Nietzsche walked that edge, and Jung recognized it. But Jung mapped something Nietzsche intuited, the shadow. All we deny, all we repress, all we refuse to own. And Jung believes suffering often exposes shadow. That is why suffering can feel unbearable. It reveals not only pain, but hidden self, resentment, fear, power hunger, old wounds, things buried, things disowned. And here's the shocking part. Jung believed shadow is not obstacle to wholeness. It is part of wholeness. Massive idea. And this is where Jung may go further. Nietzsche looked into abyss. Jung tried to integrate what looked back. That is extraordinary. And in part 2, we go deeper, because we haven't yet touched Nietzsche's idea of amor fati, Jung's idea of individuation, and the one final question that may decide who truly understood suffering better. And honestly, that final insight may be the most unsettling of all. Before we go further, stay with me, because what comes next may be the deepest difference between Jung and Nietzsche, and it revolves around one dangerous question: should suffering be conquered or loved? Nietzsche had a shocking answer, and Jung may have had an even deeper one. 6. Nietzsche's most dangerous idea, amor fati. Of all Nietzsche's ideas, this may be the most radical, amor fati. Love your fate, not tolerate it, not survive it, love it, even suffering, even tragedy, even what wounded you. This is a brutal idea, and also strangely beautiful, because Nietzsche asks, can you say yes even to pain? Can you affirm life so deeply you would not erase even your suffering? That is not optimism, that is spiritual ferocity. And honestly, very few people can live that, because most people want pain removed. Nietzsche asks, can you bless even what broke you? That's almost unbearable. And yet, something profound lives there, because many people later discover what they once cursed changed them. The betrayal, the loss, the collapse, the dark night. Sometimes what nearly destroyed you made you more yourself. Nietzsche saw that, but stay with me, because Jung would take amor fati somewhere more psychological and maybe more human. 7. Jung's answer, not love fate, become through it. This is where Jung shifts the whole conversation. He might say, don't merely love fate, become through fate. Huge difference. Because Jung wasn't asking you to romantically embrace suffering. He was asking, what is suffering shaping in you? That's individuation. And this may be Jung's greatest idea. That pain can participate in becoming who you are. Not because suffering is holy, but because consciousness can redeem suffering. Very different, and maybe deeper, because amor fati can sound heroic. But individuation is intimate. It is not about saying yes to fate abstractly. It is about allowing life to make you real. And Jung believed this often happens through rupture. Identity breaks, illusions collapse, persona falls apart, and something truer begins. He didn't call that defeat. He called it transformation. And honestly, that may be the most hopeful thing either man says, because suffering is no longer dead end. It can become doorway. And what comes next may be the sharpest clash between Jung and Nietzsche, because Nietzsche often glorified becoming extraordinary. Jung cared less about greatness and much more about wholeness. That matters a lot. 8. Nietzsche wanted greatness. Jung wanted wholeness. Now, this is subtle, but huge. Nietzsche often speaks in the language of greatness. Strength, elevation, higher man, overcoming. There is grandeur there. But Jung asks another question. Not, can you become extraordinary, but can you become whole? That is not the same goal at all. And honestly, for many people, it may be the deeper goal, because greatness can hide inflation, ego, power fantasy. Jung saw those dangers, especially in spiritual people, especially in brilliant people, especially in people drawn to suffering as identity. He warned, the ego can even turn suffering into pride. That is wild and very true. Some people become secretly superior through pain. I have suffered more. I see more. I am deeper. Jung distrusted all of that because suffering is not status. It is material for transformation. Huge difference. Nietzsche sometimes sounds like pain can make you exceptional. Jung says, pain can make you real. And honestly, that may be deeper than greatness. And now we come to perhaps the hardest question in this whole video. Did Nietzsche go too far? And would Jung have said so? Stay with me, because this gets uncomfortable. 9. Would Jung say Nietzsche mistook will for healing? This is controversial, but important. Nietzsche often trusted will, power, self-creation, become who you are. Magnificent idea. But Jung might ask, can sheer will heal the unconscious? Can you will your way through trauma, through shadow, through inner fracture? Jung would likely say, not fully, because some wounds do not need conquest. They need encounter, compassion, integration, and maybe this is where Jung becomes more psychologically complete, because he understands some suffering is not solved by becoming stronger, but by becoming more conscious. That's different. A person can use will to dominate pain and still remain split inside. Jung knew that. He treated that again and again. And maybe that's why he may understand suffering in a more human way, less heroic, more total. And yet, before we conclude Jung wins, there is one thing Nietzsche saw modern people desperately need, and Jung would agree. This may be the most practical insight in the whole video. 10. Both believed meaning is born in struggle. This is where they unite deeply. Both believed meaning is not found in comfort. It is forged through tension, through conflict, through confrontation. Today, many people chase happiness. They rarely ask about meaning. Nietzsche cared about meaning. Jung cared about meaning, massively. And both believed suffering can become meaningful. That changes whether it destroys you. because meaningless pain crushes. Meaningful suffering transforms. That may be one of the deepest truths ever spoken. And honestly, it may help explain your own life. Why some pain shattered you and some pain deepened you. Meaning, that was often the difference. And now, we arrive at the final question. Who understood suffering better? And my answer may surprise you. Who was right? If you ask, who understood suffering as force? Nietzsche, without question. If you ask, who understood suffering as psychological transformation? Jung, deeply. Nietzsche understood suffering as fire. Jung understood suffering as alchemy. Beautiful difference. One burns, one transforms. One asks, can pain make you stronger? The other asks, can pain make you whole? And honestly, that second question may go deeper, because strength can harden. Wholeness heals. Strength can survive. Wholeness transforms. And maybe that is why Jung may ultimately go further. Not because Nietzsche was wrong, but because Jung took suffering inward, into symbol, shadow, destiny, soul. That is another depth. And yet, Nietzsche gives something Jung sometimes lacks: ferocity, courage, the terrible yes to life. And maybe the truth is, you need both. Nietzsche teaches, do not let suffering make you small. Jung teaches, do not let suffering make you unconscious. Put them together, and something extraordinary appears. Strength and wholeness, fire and depth, overcoming and integration. That may be the real answer, not Jung or Nietzsche, but what each reveals about pain. And maybe the suffering in your life is asking both questions right now. Can this make you stronger? Can this make you more whole? And how you answer may shape your destiny. Remember what I said at the beginning. There was one truth both saw most people avoid. Here it is. Pain does not automatically destroy. Avoided pain destroys. Conscious suffering transforms. That may be the whole mystery. And maybe the wound you hate most contains the self you have not yet become. Jung believes something like that. Nietzsche too. And once you see that, suffering is never quite the same again. If this changed how you see pain, write in the comments. Pain can transform. And tell me, who do you think understood suffering better? Jung or Nietzsche? I want to know. And subscribe, because next I may make a darker one. Jung versus Nietzsche. Who understood evil better? And honestly, that one may be even more dangerous.